We're taking a look at the SD card on the Android mobile phone, and we're taking a look at how we can use Java File I/O with that SD card. So the first thing that we need to take a look at is the permissions. Android.permission.write external storage is necessary, just like when we use the internet, SMS text messaging, or GPS. The file I/O to the SD card must be granted by the user. Now also, there's a path that we can look into. Environment.get external storage directory should return the path /SD card. So we're looking at a sample application called appdev_android_SD card_project. So in this example, we're going to take a look at how to take content from this edit text and send it out into the SD card on the mobile phone memory. So the button here is set up to respond to the click and open up a file inside the SD card. Now if we go back under Eclipse, if we look at the log cat in this example, we can see that the onClick event triggers the begin and end. Also, the content in the edit text says write this content out to the SD card, please. The string here says /SD card. That's the environment variable that tells us where to look for the SD card content. Now, from the Start menu, if we open up a command window and look for the Android SDK, there's this folder called Platform Tools. And there's this program called ADB. And if we call it, we can actually pull content from the SD card. And what we need to know is the name of that file. So if we work our way back over to the Eclipse developer environment and look at the code, we can see that this is the file name, appdev_android_file, and we'll come back and study the code in just a minute, but we need to know what is this file name, appdev android file. So what this did is to copy the phone memory down to the local hard drive. We have 51 bytes, so that's a good indicator that there's something there. Let's type the content to the screen of the file now that it's here on the PC. And that looks perfecto. We see write this content out to the SD card for me, please. So we've successfully demonstrated how we can write file I/O out into the SD card for the purpose of storing data. So SQLite is one way to store data persistently on the phone. And that uses, remember, the database folder inside the application directory. This is more of a public area, so it's easier to access and copy the content onto the PC if it's in the SD card memory. Alright, so now let's close the command line and work our way over to the code here for onClick. Notice that in this example we're sending out the message begin and also the message end on the onClick function. We're grabbing a handle to the edit text because we want to grab the content out of that edit text to send it out into the file on the SD card. Also, we're going to look at the string called environment.get external storage directory .toString, and that contains /SD card. So we can log file both of those entries before we actually send the file I/O. So here's the standard Java I/O command file writer. We're going to create a new file on the SD card called appdev_android_file.txt, and then write one line into that file coming from the edit text that the user types into, and then we'll close that file before we exit the function with the end right here. So remember that in the user interface we have the two components. We have the edit text, that's where the user types in any message that goes out into the file, and when we click on this button, it's going to trigger the actual action to open up the file and to write into that file. So that's it. Basically, this application is these two objects on the user interface and this one function here for the onClick event. The onCreate function is the setup function that's finding the button click event, and that's basically it for this entire example.